Morning, it's Tuesday, July 9th, and today I want to talk about a medical bill that is sometimes grossly overstated and sometimes grossly mishandled. And I'm talking about ambulance service. So if you have an ambulance come to your house and deliver one of your family members, like I had Gertrude delivered to the hospital by ambulance several times 2 years ago, the bill can be anywhere from $500 to $3,500 if you don't have insurance. Now, fortunately, I did have insurance, and my bills for her ambulance services were roughly between $120 and $150, depending upon which hospital she went to, etc., etc., etc. And when I made these emergency calls, not only did the ambulance come, but several other groups of people came. And among those other groups were the police. And they came to ensure that everybody was being properly handled. And they contributed to the care that my wife received in getting prepared to go to the hospital. And not only that, the police asked me to sign a document of sorts to show that they had participated in this medical event. So when I read about ambulance service, I recognize the fact that it's more than just trucking the human being off to the hospital. So I'm reading an article today about a group of ambulance drivers, people who are servicing communities in and around New York State, in Orange County and Thompson County and some other counties. And these ambulance services were ripping off the insurance companies. Or whoever is paying the bill. Because if you don't have insurance, you're going to have a big bill, as I stated before. They would take several people on a ride and bill each one of them separately to the insurance company or whomever was going to pay the bill. So the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, has accused medical transport companies of overbilling Medicaid by more than $3 million because of the reimbursements for fake tolls and mileage and trip. The Attorney General's office has filed more indictments charging multiple medical transportation operators in this scam of stealing millions from Medicaid. And in the suit, they talk about Orange County, where they're accused of stealing $2.3 million from Medicaid for reimbursements for fake medical trips and fraudulent toll charges that could cost between $15 and $50. Now, I don't know where you're getting a $50 toll in New York. I know the bridges are expensive and some of the highways may be expensive, but I do not know of anything that's around $50. And then you had one group that was charged with grand larceny because of these frauds and everything. And they had a kickback scheme for Medicaid patients. And they were getting possibly up to 4 years in prison. And this has been going on since 2018. And this has amounted to over $2 million in these cases, in this particular area. So who's paying attention? This is another example of sloppy control of the public money. There ought to be a methodology whereby when you are built by some organization or other, that the patient signs the bill. But what happened if the patient had to sign off about the ambulance trip? Or what would happen if the doctors at the hospital who received that thing had to sign off and validate that this particular ambulance ambulance was carrying one person or two people or five people, whatever it was. Why are we so dumb to trust all of these people who should be trustworthy, but they are not? Because humans can't be counted on to look out for their community above looking out for themselves. So between 2018 and 2023, these companies were overbilling Medicaid. 5 years worth of getting away with this stuff. And they're claiming it was a couple $1 million. Who knows? It could have been more than a couple of $1 million, the way we're operating. And the office also accused operators of paying people thousands of dollars to take rides that then the company billed Medicaid to receive tens of thousands of dollars. Imagine that, paying people to ride in your ambulance so that you can bill Medicaid thousands of dollars. And what happens to these healthy people when they get to the hospital? The doctors find out these people are not sick enough to be on the ambulance? I don't understand how that goes. You got people stealing left and right over a 5-year period, and nobody is getting caught until now. And then they had this guy, David Moore, a Tompkins County resident, accused of stealing $1 million from Medicaid because his medical transport company called ASAP 2 was scheming from 2019 to 2023. He created fake trips and overinflated the mileage. And there ought to be a methodology. When you submit the bill, you ought to be able to say, I left from this house and I arrived at this hospital. And then somebody could examine that bill and say, this is not a 10-mile trip, this is 2 miles. They had no control over this whole ridiculous thing. And I am sure that New York is not the only state that operates the same way that this medical troop was operating. I am sure that there are states around the country that are doing the same thing that New York is. But maybe they're more honest outside of New York, right? So the Attorney General's office said that the defendants paid others to use their companies for transport and then submitted claims for trips that didn't even take place. So not only are they overinflating the trips that occurred, they're creating trips that never took place. And what are the fines for this? You could get fined $650,000, but you probably made a couple million. And you know what? These people weren't put right in jail either. Several of them will come up to court, pay a little bit of bail, and leave. And some of them were just put out on their own recognizances, out on the street again. What's wrong with our legal system? These people are ripping us off. These people are the ones who are causing innocent individuals to pay a lot of money out of their pockets, and they don't spend the night in jail. They get arraigned in court, and then they get sent home. And they're released under their own recognizance. If they were put to work doing something, these people need to pay for their infidelities. They need jail time. No pussyfooting around. Jail time. Thank you. Bye.